This is Pastors Live, a Rev FM production podcast. Join Pastors Dave, Ty, and Shane for a fresh, fun, and often unpredictable take on faith, the Bible, and the world around us.
Everybody goes silent.
Now you see, Dennis, that's real writing.
No, it made me like, because that question, what if, is so important because it gets us thinking, right? And one of the humans, after like the long pause, he looks and he goes, "That's a good question."
Well, and what ifs are interesting because I always remind people, because sometimes we get into these conversations where people are asking Bible questions, and they ask the what if Bible questions, but I always have to come back to, when you're talking about the Bible, remember, you cannot come up with a certainty from a probability. And so sometimes people want to build things in that way, and it can be really dangerous, and so we want to be careful with that.
And
so
sometimes the question we ask is, what if Gary starts recording before we know?
And that's it. Welcome to Pastors Live.
He wanted that conversation on there.
He knew what he was doing. Hey, we've got some great people in the studio. We got Gary Austin here. We got Pastor Shane,
Hello.
Pastor Dave. I'm
God bless
Ty.
you guys.
We have the wonderful Mansfields are here today.
Hello.
And so we
They
are so
indeed are
thankful to have you
wonderful.
guys back with
Susan
us
and
today.
I are honored to be here.
Well, we're really glad to have you here. Now, what are you doing currently? Obviously, you're doing Kufi, but I mean, ministry-wise, are you teaching? Are you pastoring? What are you doing right now? Are you? Because I know you're a business guy.
Yeah.
So
My focus has been as a business coach for the last 26 years.
Okay.
I had the honor of running for U.S. Congress back in 2000. A guy named Butch Otter beat me.
I remember Butch.
Yeah, went on to become governor. A small thing, not a big deal.
Right.
Otherwise, you guys would be calling me governor. Dennis.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying? Governor.
Yeah, governor.
Governor, right?
Really.
Not in the state.
And so I really found myself in a wonderful position where there's a company called Simplot. It is
I'm aware.
$19 billion a year company, and family run. And they asked me if I would come in and start coaching their C-suite and a number of their other silos. They've got 33 or 34 companies that they run. And so I started doing that because my business background was focused on that. And then I'm still doing it too today. And then it just started coaching other businesses, helping people, both nonprofit and profit, grow their businesses up so that they could then go out in whatever fashion some are faith-based, some are not. Those that are not, the going out involves what are you doing with your money? You know, how are you investing it in the changing of people's lives?
Right.
It's always the challenge I have. So I don't step on their toes from a faith perspective, but I do challenge them.
Right.
And it's been wonderful. So I was asked by Kufi, Christians United for Israel, to consider taking over Dave McGarra's position. Susan and I had been involved in a city council race in November. I had some time that was open. So I met with Dave, and Dave says, yeah, I'd like you to take my spot. He'd been doing it for 15 years. As I said on the previous show, I've been involved in it a little bit when it first started. And I just thought, I've got the time. I've got the interest. I love Israel. Let's do it. Okay. So now I'm, got them as a client and enjoying every bit of it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's a blessing. And so what's your heart like going forward for you, kind of doing what he was doing? What's your heart for Kufi? What is what do you kind of see as maybe goals? And obviously it's new, so you might still be kind of sorting some of as the dust is settling, sorting some of that stuff out. So I'm going to acknowledge that.
It's in some ways it's new. It reminds me a lot of when Dr. Dobson asked me to take over and become the Family Policy Council guy for Focus on the Family in Idaho. They said, look, you're going to have to go to churches. You're going to have to go on radio shows. They didn't have podcasts then.
Right.
But you're going to have to communicate to a lot of people, get them involved in the church for the purpose of, through the church, impacting public policy. So now I'm speaking in the church, going through the church, encouraging people about the love of Israel and how we can support Israel. When Dr. Dobson put together a whole outreach, I don't know if anybody remembers it, but it was an outreach about Israel, and Gary Bauer was involved and a bunch of other people. It was beautiful to finally have churches that were they didn't know they were replacement theology, but they were.
Yeah.
They're like, Israel, well, tell me more. And Dobson impacted a whole lot of people. I want to see CUFI have the impact that Dobson had at the early stage to do it now. Pastor John Hagee has done 20 years of impacting people, but the question becomes, what happens after Pastor John? Either retires or passes away.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole new backbench system out there of quality men and women who can speak across the United States and ultimately in other countries, but right now it's centered in the United States.
See, I didn't even think that was a possibility with Pastor Hagee. Until you said yesterday that Christ wasn't coming till 2060.
So he might still be here. let the record show.
Let the record show.
It was not me. It was Isaac Newton. And what did he know?
That was a mic drop.
Yeah.
Don't
He
put
got
your
hit in the
eggs
head-
all
yeah.
in that basket.
He had a head injury anyway. So
He did.
Mild
he
concussion.
did. So yeah. So I think it's interesting that we consider the importance of Israel in the biblical narrative.
Yes.
And we do have this kind of this new replacement, or really what I would call a soft replacement theology that's kind of creeping in. And I think some of it is connected directly to the influence of social media, for sure, the negativity towards people. And I think one of the things that we can acknowledge is the difference between people and political issues. Like there are political decisions, and then there's the people. We're talking about supporting the people of Israel.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that the nation is making right decisions. The same with our nation. Like we support the people, but that doesn't mean our nation's making the right decision. And because people make wrong decisions, for all have sinned and fell short of the glory of God. So let's just own that, right?
Yeah.
But when we talk about supporting Israel, we talk about this issue. I think one of the things, and I know I just did a couple things for our newsletter on.
I was just going to say, you need
theology.
to send Dennis your article.
I would love that.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that.
It's very good.
Because the issue is replacement theology. God's not done with Israel.
No, he is not.
And there's a lot of misunderstanding. And I know so many guys, even inside of our, Calvary movement, that have really gotten stumbled over Romans 9, 10, and 11.
Tell me about that, because it's so clear as you read it.
I know.
What do they stumble over?
You know what? They get really caught up in the predestination issue. They get really caught up in, Jacob I have loved. I hated, and they get caught up in that. And especially young guys. And what happens sometimes if they don't sit and we're okay. For young pastors out there, I'm going to say something that's very, very important. So please listen. Get something to write it down. Don't work out your theology behind the pulpit.
Yes.
Do that on your knees. Do that in your study.
Amen.
And teach what you know. Don't teach what you don't know.
Yes.
If there's something you don't understand, own it and move on.
Yep.
I don't know, I was wrong, and I'm sorry are three very important things for all men of God. And so because I think we have a lot of people that are just angry at the world right now.
Yeah.
And so everybody's looking for a place to blame, and, blaming Israel.
Yeah.
Or not liking their leaders, and why would they do this or that when we're all sinners?
Yeah, we're all sinners, and I don't ever like to see life lost, because it scares me to think about somebody who doesn't know Christ. If they die, there's an eternal end to that life, and that frightens me. So I am not a pacifist, but I am theologically. But I don't have a problem with force being used to deal with evil. And so I have a lot of these conversations with young Christians about this issue of like what's going on in the Middle East right now, and say, hey, listen, violence is one thing, but force to deal with evil is something else.
Correct.
And so, you have to work on those things. And I've worked with military and law enforcement so much that I understand the issue between those two. Violence is not a good thing. And in some ways, we see things and they become violent, and you're just like, man, can we dial it down? Can we just deal with the evil that we're dealing with? And that's war is hard. I can
tell you,
it's terrible.
You've nailed it, because 50 years ago, I had the honor of being appointed to the United States Military Academy at West Point by President Nixon. I went there
Brother, you're dating yourself, just so you know.
Doesn't matter.
No, I tell him that. Just don't say those few of those things.
Here's the reality. I was close friends with Abraham Lincoln too. So
Only through your studies.
Vampire killer or the president?
He used your tickets to go to the theater. Huh?
well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But at West Point, I remember the point at which they told us, "Look, you're at a school for soldiers. Many of you are people of faith. I wasn't. I knew about God and so forth, but I had no personal faith. I had a number of Christians who were solid, who were in my life, in my companies. And I remember asking them, are you okay with the fact that we are a school for soldiers and our goal is to stand up and use force, and that it is violent? And the bottom line was they said, yeah. They gave me a perspective from a Christian worldview about standing firm and continuing to stand up for the people that need someone to stand up for them.
Right.
So our son went to West Point. He was a graduate of the year 2014, class of 2014. And so we've talked about it, about the impact of what is happening in Israel right now, what's happening in Iran right now. And when I went to Israel last November and I went into the safe houses, safe areas, and saw what Hamas did to the people as they flew up and over on their gliders, it was terrible. I stood there weeping with a lady named Rivka, who had her gardener was a Hamas plant.
I know her.
Do you know Rivka?
I do.
Yeah, she's a beautiful lady. And she was telling me about how he had turned against them because they planted in the. I mean, it was murder. Yeah. There was no political that. It was just the hunger to kill Jews. Yep. And I just stood there. Susan wasn't with me.
That's violence.
It's total violence. And I was weeping. And then you come home and they're like, anti-Semitism everywhere about the darn Jews, blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, go with me to Israel, see what my eyes have seen, what your eyes have seen, Dave.
And it's not just
Poland. We were in Poland, and the casual nature of, well, let's put them in the showers and then butcher them through gas, and then burn their bodies. I mean.
It's funny. Ty and I have been to Yad Vashem a couple of times together, and Yad Vashem is very moving. It's very solemn. But then you go to Poland, to Majdanek, to Auschwitz, to Birkenau, and Yad Vashem makes so much more sense now. Yeah. And you see that, and then when you hear the anti-Semitism, and I hope this doesn't come across wrong. We were talking about this earlier. Sometimes on radio it doesn't always come across right, but it does make your blood boil. Yeah. When you hear the anti-Semitism, you go, I've been there and seen it. You know, and
No, it's not just violence. Like, it's evil.
It's demonic.
Yeah.
Well, it's evil, and you can't rationalize or justify evil.
No.
Just as you can't rationalize or justify sin. And so when you when you try to do that with your worldview, it just falls apart, right? It's kind of like the question, like, is it ever okay to lie, right? As a Christian, the answer is always no. But do we lie? Yes. Why? Because we're in an evil, fallen world and we're corrupted, right? Yeah. And so, like, you can't compare the state of the world to the fundamentals of Christianity, because that's just that's wrong, right? You're going to lose that battle every time. And so if you justify, like, whether Christianity is true or false, or whether you want to follow it or not because of the state of the world, that's a poor route to go down. You get what I'm saying?
Well, there it is, right? As New Testament believers under the lordship of Jesus Christ, whether you call yourself evangelical, dispensational, Calvinist, or whatever, forget all the titles. Just as a Jesus follower, in just the little bit of time that we have left, how, Dennis and Susan, maybe you're equipped to answer this. How do you justify, I hope this is a softball, our commitment to supporting Israel with our drive for evangelism? In other words, with CUFI, It's not meant to proselytize. We don't go into Israel to say, hey, as soon as you change your theology about who Yeshua is, we'll love you. We love them already. We go in and support them. We sit with them. We dine with them.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, as Christians, we also are committed to the Great Commission, right? To go into all the world and preach the gospel to every living creature, baptizing them in the name of the Father and Son and Holy Spirit. How do we put those two things in juxtaposition and rationalize that?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much a rationalization, if you will. I think it's more of being in queue. There's an opportunity to walk through the door and bless this house. When we went into the rabbi's house, and he had not Passover, but Shabbat dinner for us, and he brought his children in and blessed them. I was sobbing watching this man who knows the Old Testament inside and outside. And he is watching me weep over his sons. The cue was afterwards, he and his wife came up and said, "Tell me why you were crying like you were." And I said, "Because I wish I had my son who is with the Lord in heaven, that I could have blessed him the way you blessed yours." And they said, "Tell me your story." And so I was able at that point to share about that. And they said, "How did you overcome the death of your own son?" And then I told them.
And that's when, this relational thing, we're not responsible for them coming to the Lord. The Lord is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so we do our part, and then he does his part. He softens their heart. He has them ask the questions. Then we just are responsible to answer them.
It's one of those things. It's like, just, just fill the trough with water.
That's right.
The thirsty will come to it.
That's right.
I mean, that's, we joke around about you can bring a horse to water, but if you've ever tried to bring a horse anywhere, right? So, because I used to ride a horse called Red. Red was a very stubborn horse. Red was the kind of horse that when you put a saddle on and you went to cinch up that saddle, Red would go, he would breathe in really deep. And
what
so,
he was doing.
Right? Oh. And so you'd get on him and you'd be about 30 minutes in and he'd start to relax and start to sweat. And then he'd turn real quick, and then you would find yourself underneath him.
Oh yeah, Dennis had a big accident like
right?
that.
And then you have to get off then you have to kind of get him and get his head in the grass, put the saddle back on, get everything reset, grab everything, and just wait for him
to relax.
Because as soon as you grab it, he breathes in. Then you have to wait for him to breathe out. Then you crank it on, and he would just look at you like, "Oh, you figured me out, right?" But this was a horse you could not take that horse anywhere. But if he was thirsty, he would find water.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget that as Christians, we are representatives of the living water. Mm-hmm. So we are representatives of those, we represent God, who is the source of life, the source of refreshing. And when we live our lives in a way, even when we've suffered tragedy, when we've suffered loss, we keep continually being filled with Christ, filled with his love and his grace. And we literally just fill the trough and say, "Look, here's the water. All come and drink. Like Jesus is here. Come and be refreshed." I think those relational issues are really important. And I always get amazed when people respond to the gospel. Like we just had our altar calls for Easter, right? I'm always amazed when people respond to the gospel, because the gospel is such a simple message. But when you have 100 people respond to the gospel, you're like, man, this is, God is doing something. But God's doing that work, and he's going to bring refreshing into those lives.
My dad used to say, you can lead a horse to water, but if you can teach him to surf, you're really onto something.
Right. Yeah, true.
Very deep theological statement.
Well, you've got the 350 yards of California there.
Yeah, exactly.
With a few,
100%.
There's just not very many horses there, but maybe seahorses.
Hey, Dennis, real quick, we've got about a minute and a half left. If people want to contact you and learn more about CUFI, Christians United for Israel, you've got some materials we didn't get to talk about, but how can people get a hold of you?
Well, the best way, DennisMansfield.com is my website, DennisMansfield.com. They can email me from there. If they want to directly on the CUFI, it's Dennis.Mansfield@CUFI.com. Dennis.mansfield@kufi.com, and I'd love to be in contact with you. This has been an absolute joy for Susan and me.
Oh, we love having you guys here. This is great.
You guys got to go in the ministry. You really should.
So yeah, we've been thinking about it. We've been thinking about it. It's I think
I've been
there's
thinking about it for 40 years.
I've been thinking about it for about the same. So yeah,
you did a good job.
But listen, everybody, we really appreciate our listeners. We didn't get to all the questions, but we will get to them starting tomorrow. We'll get to some of those. But listen, you're loved, your family. Don't ever forget that. And God bless you. And we will talk to you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Pastors Live, a Rev FM production podcast. Join us again for more Bible talk, laughter, and unexpected tangents. Questions or feedback? Pastors Live at therev.fm. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.